Choip, choip, choip. Choip, choip, choip.
In the Dicey Dungeon, instead of shooting the dice shoot you. So ungrateful, after you tried to give them luck by blowing on them, and then giving them their thrill ride. And when you account for their small size, maybe they even pull a G. How many can truly experience that? Once again, welcome to Dicey Dungeons. A set of dungeons, some of which having rather verdant biomes, for something presumably taking place underground, acting as the battlegrounds for the game show of the same name, hosted by Lady Luck, who's dressed like a ringmaster, an equestrian, or maybe, if you really want to see a joke here, Sergeant Pepper. And what are they playing for? The fulfillment of their greatest desire, of course. If some of the contestants' desires are a tad short-sighted, well now, okay, they actually win the opportunity to spin the wheel. And if it lands on the star, then they get their desire. And since Lady Luck is really sarcastic, and this game is roguelike-esque, spoiler alert, she has no intention of letting that happen. I mean, I've won 24 episodes so far and only earned myself more dungeon time. And as far as I can tell on the wheel, there's a 5 in 6 chance that it should land on a star. So I should have won at about 20. And so the entire thing is a scam orchestrated by Lady Luck to have an infinite supply of eternal minions and maybe have a hit show? Is this even broadcasting? This game has a similar feel to those roguelike deck builders that have been popular recently. Like in those games, here strategy and luck combine. Except you don't have a deck to draw from. Your cards/equipment are equipped, and you roll your dice and use those numerical values to activate these pieces of equipment. Some cards deal the same amount of damage as the dice you slot into them. Some can cause special effects, such as a status. These dice were hot. Mild punishment. Some cards only function with an odd, an even, or a specific number. Some are reusable, work once a turn, or once a fight. And once you're out of options, end your turn. Reroll your dice on the next. And as usually is the case in deck building games, the point is to arrange your cards in such a way that increase your odds of success and make the whole ordeal less luck-based. Cards that change dice values to what you want or increase them. Cards that roll more dice and give you more flexibility. High rolls and pure damage or low rolls and many dice. To needle the enemy. Apply shield, heal damage, activate your character's special move. This one doubles your next action. The map is procedurally generated from a few templates, backgrounds and layouts. Like a hive mind's mind map, they will repeat soon enough, but they're simple and clean. Engage in fights, visit stores, upgrade cards. Get health with a classic apple. Get more cards, proceed to the next stage. When you're ready to fight stronger stuff. You'll come to know the template if for no other reason than you earning the same number of experience points as the enemy you're fighting's level. And if you beat all enemies, you will be leveling up on a fairly fixed schedule. So by this stage, you should have this level. It should take that many fights, consistently from run to run. A pattern that will become second nature to you, knowing it down pat in such a mechanical way. And then to prevent dryness, you focus more on the fun of the odds and your card usage. That predictability adds a nice foundation for you to engage in the other gameplay elements at speed without thinking. When you level up, your maximum health increases, lost health is replenished, and you get an extra dice or character equivalent. More dice means more possible attacks and thus more power. And after running the gauntlet, reach the milestone, monumental, maximum level of 6. And hopefully you're ready for the boss. It's lovely using primary school math for fun, and if you manage to not die, congrats, you've completed an episode. Now go do 5 others as well as 6 for each one of the other characters. This is where most of the game variety comes from, because as said, the map and backgrounds will be spent quite soon, but each character is an episode that starts with standard rules, that allows you to feel how they play, how their specific rules work. Each character can play quite differently. For instance, for the robot, you can continue throwing dice, any number you want, as long as their cumulative value is below this number, followed by 2 episodes, wherein the game rules change in certain fixed ways, once again can play quite different, followed by a level with the standard rule set but harder, followed by a weird episode, and finally a hard episode with standard rules, but where a new rule is added from stage to stage. And to add even more variety, sometimes new card types will be available in these other episodes. The rules can change how status effects work, what your special does, etc. And that can force you to play in vastly different ways to compensate. Some rules arguably even cause chaos, and those special conditions are different for each character, to add even more variety to the fact that they have different specials and different cards from the outset. So 6 different rule sets for 6 different dice that require different approaches on fairly short runs. Nice and surprisingly stimulating when you consider that there isn't that much visual variety and the main concept stays the same. I think at about hour 21 I started to feel tired and I stopped at hour 27. In all fairness, from very early in the game they lay it out for you, this is how the campaign's going to go. And that, combined with its compact nature, made me more willing to grind on through, in spite of some fatigue. Plus, perhaps I was entranced for so long, because the game manages to capture the feeling of gambling as effectively as anyone could without having you gamble in-game. Sometimes you narrowly win, sometimes you frustratingly lose. Just barely for the umpteenth time. A lot of times you're waiting for that roll, and when you get it, it's a jolt. So you should carefully consider how long you'll play, and the difficulty is strange too. Sometimes you'll do much better on later, supposedly harder episodes, completing it first time when earlier episodes cause struggle. And excuse me, to me the robot plays easier than the thief, even though you unlock them after. Visually the game is nice, it kind of looks like it was cut out of craft paper or something, very colorful. Goes pleasantly old school, cartoony, and with the design of the suggestive mimic. They want you to touch their chest. It's absolute punishment. The enemy designs are funny themselves. There is very little design cohesion though. Pretty much a hodgepodge of weirdos with little animation who gave up on ever winning the game. The enemies display such variety and seemingly were created using a very free-form rule set. They're not unlike Pokemon in that way. Some may have connections to each other, but otherwise it was pretty much open season. The game also has nice music, mostly chiptune stuff with some piano and saxophone thrown in. Plus some funky riffs. Sometimes a really calming map music. But the most memorable musical element in this game is probably the breakneck pace of the battle music. I liked it quite a bit, but fair warning, more often than not, you'll be hearing music on that more complex, fast side of things, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of you get a headache. But in all fairness, it does have those calmer interludes. Short, but they may help. So in this realm, the game is tonally strange too, especially since it has a humorous story that you don't usually associate with those extremes. Unless of course it's a joke, but I never saw anything mocking raves. I mean this sincerely, nice pun. There isn't much story though. The odd cutscene with Lady Luck and the announcer, only showing them speak mostly. Also, here's a tip. Try and leave the first character's bonus round for later, because once you complete it, the announcer goes away, because of reasons I won't spoil, and I believe you'll miss out on some dialogue, like I did. At times, defeated enemies will say a speech bubble's worth of dialogue. Sometimes it's amusing. And there are challenges that you can complete at any time to unlock minion character cards, with some strangely current references. This game was only released a few years ago. Games rarely talk about pop stars, and generally they're not this quick on the draw. Good, digestible humor. Sure, some of these challenges do look a bit hard and tedious to complete, but a lot of these I just got from playing different episodes, and the hardest seeming ones seem to correspond to a specific episode, where the unique rule set makes it much easier to achieve, and going for them usually is part of a beneficial strategy. So not the best story presentation or content, but I found it pleasant, and it did jump up a bit whenever Lady Luck was done playing around. She can actually get surprisingly scary. But yes, it wasn't enough to make me complete the game. Maybe the final episodes I didn't complete are ideal for in-between game status. I mean, the runs are fairly short, and it has free DLC included, the Reunion DLC, as well as the Halloween Special, where all the enemies are in Halloween costumes. A few more stages if you want more for free, that seem to have other visuals, music, and story text included. I only recently tried these out. The game's so fun, the test resulted in me playing another hour almost, but I won't add that to the hour total. The game is cheap on Steam, 105 Rand full price, 26 Rand 25 on sale. That's 98 cents per hour of gameplay, which is excellent. And to download, I suppose it does have a manageable download size, as it only takes up 1.08 gigabytes on the hard drive. Just about good. I've seen better, I've seen worse. And the game does seem to work on the Warhorse. It might have the odd jolt, but otherwise it's quite playable. And stereotypically, it's kid-friendly, I suppose. It's cute and all. But I have to mention, some of you may think that this game is skirting awfully close to gambling. So maybe keep it away from someone with an addictive personality. I may be overreacting, but just in case. The game has cute, colorful, paper-like cartoony visuals. It doesn't have a lot of animation though, and the enemy design is a hodgepodge. Actually, pretty much no cohesion visually across most of the game, except for maybe the living dice and the game show paraphernalia. Also, usually in combat, most of the screen is covered by your cards. And thus most of the time you'll be staring at cards. But their design is clean and colorful, didn't feel out of place. But fair warning, that's what you're gonna be staring at. The game has good music. Mixture of chiptune and real instrument. The saxophone is very noticeable, but the music is tonally strange, sometimes incredibly fast and kind of loud, and others soothing and serious. Weird for a game that seems so light-hearted. Also, once again, be wary of that loudness and speed. Might give some of you a headache. This is not the kind of game music that fades into the background, I believe. The game has good gameplay. Fun short runs, with all the adrenaline of gambling, as well as all the frustration of gambling, except with the benefit of you not losing your shirt. But once again, be careful, slippery slope. Plus it's fun to get cards, upgrade them, and put together a deck where you manipulate the odds in your favor. Hooray for math-based gameplay. And as said, it's very light and upbeat, compact and accessible. As long as you like using basic math skills. On the maybe side, the plot is functional, and the story presentation isn't the best. But it's cool when Lady Luck gets serious. Sometimes you'll see funny minion dialogue. The unlockable personality cards are cutesy and can be funny, if all of this isn't necessarily substantial enough to press on and complete the game, and complete all the challenges. It is an interesting approach to a campaign, different characters with different episodes and sometimes different rule sets. This is very stimulating, gives more gameplay variety, and you wouldn't think that this approach is so fun for so long, but it is. But eventually fighting the same enemies on the same map templates over and over again, sometimes losing, gets tiresome. And also, this game may give you the impression that it has a roguelike or roguelite element, but no, it's you die, then you start again. The only thing that carries over is your knowledge, but this one especially is a maybe. A game doesn't have to have roguelike elements, but arguably it's a bit more painful when the game doesn't have them if you're going to play against the same enemies on the same maps. Maybe it feels more satisfying than starting each level over again, but hey, maybe this game is a candidate for being an in-between game. As said, it's compact, quick. On the con side, if you complete the first character's bonus level too early, you may miss out on some dialogue from a character, and you might enter the phase earlier where Lady Luck runs out of dialogue and has to repeat herself. Come on, play it. It's a lovely bit of fun, although now that I think about it, maybe this game isn't kid-friendly. If you equip the 6-shooter, you'll see a dice get loaded. It's absolute punishment.
Choip, choip, choip. Choip, choip, choip.